Fervent Radio dives into the journeys of individuals fueled by their passions. Join us as we explore a world of fervent stories. In this episode, I am joined by Anton. Together, we're going to talk about his passion for acting. Unlike others, his interest in the acting world did not stem from a sudden realization, but rather, and as he puts it, he came knocking at his door at a few different times in his life. In this conversation, we'll discuss about his journey to making a living out of his passion, the resilience that is needed, and what most people get wrong about the acting world. I hope you'll enjoy this conversation. If so, support me by liking and subscribing to the show on Spotify and YouTube. Hi Anton, how are you?
Hi Vic, I'm good, thanks.
Well, thank you for joining me on the episode of Fervent Radio. Very glad to have you on the show.
I'm excited to be here.
Likewise. So you're a professional actor, and today we're going to talk about your passion for acting.
Yep.
A passion that led you to be featured in a number of TV shows and movies. And I guess my first question would be about how you would define acting, first of all, and then after that we can talk about your journey.
So I think acting could be defined in different ways, slightly different ways by different people. But for me, the way I like to think about it and what gets me excited is to think of acting as an art form. And like all art forms, it's about communication and expression, about ourselves and our experience in the world. Hopefully get at some truth, and that could bring to life a human soul. And that's usually done through being a small part of a larger organism, so a character in a story. That's probably my best attempt at defining.
That's good. And I guess also being part of the organism of the whole crew, no?
Exactly. In a film, in a film set and a theater production, definitely.
Okay. And how did you discover that was going to be your job and your main occupation to this day?
So that was kind of a long process. It wasn't one of those things that I fell in love with as a kid, for example. It wasn't so simple. It came knocking at my door several times throughout my life until I finally paid attention. There's that old chestnut of something finding you rather than you finding it. And although it's a little bit of a cliche, but I think it kind of applies to me, because there were several moments where I had become acquainted with it unconsciously or without thinking much about it, until it finally came right in front of my face and I couldn't ignore it anymore. So the first time was when I was just during the IGCSE period, which I would have been like 14 or 15. And we had drama class at school, but it wasn't a school that gave much importance to art or drama or music. So it was kind of a class that nobody really took seriously. Nevertheless, we had it, and they give you these options. There are these things called Lambda exams. I don't know if you heard of it, but Lambda is a really renowned school in the UK. It's a performing arts school, music and dramatic arts school, Lambda. And they do these international examinations where a Lambda certified teacher comes to a school, to a British school, or a Lambda, or a school that Lambda partners with. And they give scenes out, and you work these scenes with your drama as a teacher, and then you perform them in front of this examiner, and you get a Lambda certificate. And for whatever reason, I decided to sign up with a friend to do it, and we picked a scene and we did it. We got examined and we got a Lambda certificate, and it was fun. I didn't really think anything about it or of it, and that's it. That was the first I can say now in hindsight, yeah, that was the first connection or contact with it. And the second time, again, it was kind of similar. I was now in sixth form, so the last 2 years of school, 16 or 17 years old. I was in boarding school in the UK, and there were inter-house competitions. So, you kind of have, in Harry Potter, their houses. Yeah. It's probably the best way to describe it for anyone who doesn't know what it's like. And so there were inter-house competitions, and one of them was in drama. And that year they were doing musicals. Our house decided to do Moulin Rouge.
Okay.
Again, I wasn't thinking about it. I was interested in sports and girls and other things. And
Definitely not acting.
not acting, not at all. I loved movies. I loved music. Music was more something that I was. Football and music probably were the two things that I was obsessed with, right? And so I hadn't signed up to do this thing. They already casted the musical, and they'd begun rehearsals. There's a role of the Argentinian, if you ever watched the movie Moulin Rouge or ever seen the musical.
No.
But there's the role of an Argentinian,
Okay.
right? And anyway, it was the actor who was playing it was just an English kid, ginger English kid, playing the role of the Argentinian. And he had fallen out. He's a friend of mine. He had fallen out with the group while they were rehearsing, and he just said, "Sod it," and he left. And so that role was vacant. And because I had come from Spain, they were like, maybe Anton would want to do this. And they'd approached me and asked me if I wanted to be a part of it. And I was like, no, not really. But, they kind of insisted, and they were like, it would be fun because it would require singing, dancing, and acting. No Spanish accent though, ideally, or like a Latin accent. So it was like kind of daunting, for me. I wasn't a singer, I wasn't a dancer, and I wasn't an actor, But for some reason, again, I don't remember my thought process, but I just said, fuck it, and I'll do it. I thought, kind of with a bit of a bravado and like a false confidence of just like, yeah, I'll put on a Spanish accent and I'll do the Argentinian, how hard can it be? So I decided to do it, and we started rehearsing it, and I started learning choreography and song and a bit of acting. Anyway, we do the whole thing. We win the competition. It sort of gets a good response. Felt good, felt fun. That's over, and I never think about it after that until I get to uni and I'm studying something else, and still in the UK, certain things happen in my life, and then I think back to that moment.
What did you study?
I studied business management.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Again, one of those choices that unconscious choices, you just think, okay, well, I'll do the standard thing. Yeah. It's an open degree. You can kind of be flexible with it. Keeps a lot of doors open, but it's a choice that wasn't really, I didn't really think about it, at the time, or about the future, what I wanted to be, what my interests were. So it was that kind of choice. It was just a standard choice, a lot of people were doing it. By default, exactly, yeah. So I guess I discovered acting through, that would have been the point, which I would then go back to, doing that musical.
So you were in uni studying business management,
yeah,
and all of a sudden, light bulb moment.
Kind of all of a sudden, there were other things that were happening in my life at the time. My parents got divorced when I was 18, and it was, it was a long time coming, but it was very violent, maybe distressing divorce. And I was in the middle of. Yeah. And so that event was sort of a seismic event. It shook my world. It made me reconsider everything in my life. It was sort of the first crisis point for me at the time. And it shook things up for them. It shook things up for me. And I guess that was the catalyst to me, to my mind, to my soul, to start, searching for something else. Apart from that, I wasn't enjoying studying business management at all. It was boring to me. And I found myself in my room sort of being a bit of a hermit and looking on the internet and reading things and watching things that I found that sparked my curiosity more than what I was doing, what was being taught in the lectures. So combination of the two things, that made me think back to that moment and be like, what if there's something there? So then I joined the theatre society at uni. Exeter University it's a good uni for drama. So even being part of the drama society was kind of cool because a lot of drama school kids and teachers and sort of.
Was it like a dedicated program to acting or like?
No, it's like in uni in British unis you have these societies, so it's be like
Student clubs.
Yeah, student clubs, exactly.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
like a student club, and I joined the theatre one, and then I would just go off to town and go to HMV, which was like the DVD store in the UK at the time, and just buy DVDs and start studying acting by myself. And I ordered a book because I heard DiCaprio talk about some acting teacher on a YouTube video, and I ordered that book and I started reading it without knowing really where to start or what it was talking about at the time, and started educating myself on cinema and buying the movies of the actors that I liked, and started looking at lists, IMDb lists, and all these things, Empire, and all these kind of movie lists, and trying to tick them off. And that's how it began.
So that's when it switched from acting knocking on your door
To me,
you knocking on acting's door.
Exactly.
so to speak.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So it came from really personal event in your life.
Yeah. Personal turmoil. Yeah.
And so once after you joined the society in uni, what were the next steps after that? You started looking for acting jobs, or
No. I was still so cautious with it, and it was secret. It was like my thing. I wouldn't tell my friends really,
Your
or
friends
my
didn't know
parents. No,
about?
not really.
Okay.
My uni friends did, and even to them, I wouldn't talk about it with anyone. It was so personal and private at the time, because I didn't grow up in an artistic environment or an artistic household where there was importance given to art. It wasn't something that I ever thought that was possible. So I was shy about it for a long time. I was shy about it, and I would be something that I'd be doing privately. But I would then sign up in the summer to take a summer course in London at the Drama Centre, and slowly, bit by bit, in this shy, private way, start dipping my toe in it and start having a go at it. Yeah.
Okay.
Until I auditioned for an American school, the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, and I got in, and I decided to do it, to go to drama school full time after completing my degree at university. Yeah.
In your experience, your friends in the industry, in the acting world, have they followed a similar path, or I guess this is a diverse bunch, but
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely diverse, and there's so many different stories, But when I went to drama school, for example, then you get exposed to all the kids there, and you kind of see where they've come from, And most come from a background where they had at least had some contact to it, with it, either through music or drama or something artistic. Family a lot. In the industry as well, it's you meet outsiders like me, and there are a lot, but often it's people either grew up in an artistic household or straight up had parents who were professional artists, either in music, painters, whatever,
The upbringing or like the if you connect the dots, there's a logical evolution.
Oftentimes, yeah. But there are outsiders like me. There are even people who started later than me.
Yeah.
I would be considered someone starting a little bit late.
So starting in your 20s is considered late?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
I mean, compared to child actors, definitely.
Compared to child actors, definitely. But a lot of people went at 18 to drama school, whereas I went at 21.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that 3-year gap is big, I guess.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
All right.
But there is no there is no classic path.
Yeah.
There really isn't. You find artists and actors that have all different sort of backgrounds and journeys to get to where they're at.
Yeah, that's kind of where I wanted to go with this question.
Yeah.
Like, is there a golden path towards acting? And turns out there is not.
No, there isn't. And that's what makes it a little bit unique compared to other professions. Because in other professions if you do this and you get this degree and then you get this qualification and you go to this university,
and then
you're guaranteed a certain,
which would have been your world if you had followed business management.
Which would have been my world if I would have followed business management, on which all the people that I'd studied business management with followed that road.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then got a corporate job.
Yeah.
And then climbed that ladder. Yeah. So it's that there are paths that are a lot more marked out with art and acting in general.
Yeah.
It's chaos.
More creative. Let's put that more creative approach to career building.
Or chaos, yeah.
I think in you mentioned, like, you explained the journey and the key milestones, the 3 events in your life. Has there been any inspiring figures around you, or not even around you? You mentioned Leonardo DiCaprio, which could be one, because he gave you the tip to look into this book that you mentioned. Any other figures like that?
Yeah, for sure. Many. Because I didn't grow up in an artistic environment, a lot of my inspirations to do this are people I'd never met.
Yeah, you had to rely on
them. I didn't have role models inside of my own life as much until I went to drama school, and I'll get into that in a second. But for sure, a lot of inspirational figures in the acting world. Al Pacino, DiCaprio, Denzel Washington, Marlon Brando, Jenna Rollins, Meryl Streep, Gary Oldman, and I can keep going on and on, but those are sort of the Daniel Day-Lewis guys and girls who inspired me from the beginning, whose work inspired me. And then I have a lot of other inspirational figures from sport, from writers, Rafa Nadal, for example, like his tenacity, his character, his trajectory, his spirit really, really inspired me to work hard, and the dedication. Ronaldo, other football players, in athletes, you see a lot of that. You see a lot of that strong spirit, fighting spirit, and I think it applies to us as well. At least for me, it helped me, to keep going, to keep that mentality strong, to get mental resilience, which is so important in what we do. And music, big time music. Anthony Kiedis, because I love lyrics, I love song and lyric, and the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and he's so poetic and such an amazing writer and singer. Eminem was a big inspirational figure for me when I was a kid.
I'm curious, how can a singer or like rap artist, rock artist inspire someone who wants to become an actor?
Because it's art at the end of the day. It's art and it's expression. And art needs to touch people. So
Okay.
if they touched me, they're
Yeah.
doing something that I want to
Yeah.
understand in a way, or not even understand, but use it to inspire. I want to create that feeling in somebody else. So if someone created that feeling in me, you want to study that person or their work, you know. At the end of the day, the process is the same. You know, you're channeling something, you're communicating, you're expressing something in your own, with your own point of view, through your own point of view.
Yeah.
And acting is that as well. Although, and we can, a lot of people think that acting is you become someone else, right?
Mm.
But it's not necessarily that. It's necessary. You're finding someone else inside of you. So still your point of view. You can't actually
Yeah.
become a different person,
Yeah.
you know? So, and musicians do that as well. You know, musicians, when they write songs, they don't always, they're also acting
Yeah.
out something. Sometimes it's something that they saw or part of themselves, like their shadow side or whatever. So in a way, they're doing that process, that artistic process is happening in this, it's just a different medium, but it's happening in a very similar way.
Mm.
That's how. And music and cinema, for example, that's that relationship is so close. You know,
Mm.
all the great cinema music is so important, because music, the emotion gets right into your veins. It's like
Yeah.
mainlining
Mm.
heroin, you know. It goes straight in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So music is important for actors and cinema and theater.
Okay. I never thought about that. It's like you as an actor, you have this, let's say, idea of this idea inside of you of a character that you're supposed to play, to act, and you start from that basis and then you give life to it. But it's not out of nothing. It's your feelings, your emotion, your background, your story. And you
Yeah.
try to make it somehow into this character.
Yeah,
Right?
you have to start from that. I mean, imagination then comes into play for sure, you know. And we can geek out. I can properly geek out on on all the acting techniques and whatnot. But essentially, yeah, you have to use yourself. You know, if you're doing it right, you have to use yourself, and then the imagination comes into play. But if you're just trying to invent from thin air,
Yeah.
chances are you're going to be acting.
But
You don't want to be acting.
yeah.
You want to minimize the acting, actually.
Yeah, you want to give this what you said at the
Yeah.
beginning, the a little bit of your own soul into
Yeah, yeah.
to
Well,
make it alive.
yeah, you are a human being,
Mm.
and you're trying to play other human beings. So you can't access other human beings without accessing yourself. You know, the first door is you.
Okay.
The starting point is you, and then of course you're playing characters that are different to you in many ways. But then you minimize that. You see what the gap is.
Mm.
But there will be some ways that you are similar. I mean, for one, you're human. You breathe. You need food.
You've lived stuff.
You've lived stuff.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, you're cast. Actors get cast as this thing happens where there's parallels always with your characters to your own life.
Mm.
You know. And then you see how they're different, and you try to see how can I understand that difference,
Yeah.
and then bridge the gap between yourself and the difference.
Through imagination.
Imagination, or not always, you know, inspiration. You look for you empathy.
Yeah.
Empathy, you study it, you ingest it. You try to understand. Yeah, and you do whatever you need to do in order to
Have the feeling that the final result is you having put a little bit of yourself into this work.
Yeah. It will always come out. It will always, you know, if you're doing it right, you will always come out.
As genuine.
Parts of you will come out. Yeah.
Okay.
And you know, you'll be surprised at how many parts we have hidden of ourselves. It's our job to sort of kind of find those, all the sides that we hide, or that we don't even know exist. And then the circumstances obviously dictate who you are a lot of the time. You know, you're not the same person you are with your mum as you are with your partner, with your friends. So, you know, we're playing characters all the time as well.
A lot of introspection.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you have to understand yourself. You have to learn about yourself and how you function.
My next question would be about how, on a daily basis, how on a daily basis your behavior illustrates the strength for of your passion for acting, let's say.
I think I think the I don't know about a daily basis, but I think the fact that I'm still doing it is the best illustration for my dedication to it, because it's been 10 years since I enrolled at drama school. So I guess when my journey officially began. And since that time, there have been so many situations, both personal and professional, that could have derailed the whole thing, that could have taken me off the path, and that haven't. So holding on, with your hands and teeth and whatever you can, I would say it's that, just merely still being in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes total sense. Because I guess, as you said, the same way there is not a clear path to become an actor, I would assume that there's no clear path to land an acting job.
Having an agent helps.
Yeah, definitely.
I would say that's the only thing. Being proactive and looking for it and going for it, and having an agent, are the only two things that could help you achieve that.
And in terms of you continuously training to improve your performances, acting performances, I mean, do you follow courses, or how do you go about it?
Yeah, I mean, throughout my time since I've been doing it, definitely I've done so many courses. You try different things all the time, and you want to try this technique, or you work with this acting teacher. It's you're trying to fill yourself up with tools. Yeah, and you're trying to stay active, because how do a guitarist picks up their guitar every day and learns some practices. It's very easy. It's you can kind of, it's a lot clearer to know what to do every day. No, a painter paints. A lawyer studies the law. As an actor, what do? And there's so many things you can do. Your whole body is your instrument. So everything you do that either trains your mind, your imagination, which is your mind, your body to be flexible, to be responsive, to be malleable. You can train your voice, which is part of your body. It's your whole being is your instrument. So whatever you do, whatever you do with your instrument, conserve you as an actor. Then there's very specifically there are a lot of acting techniques, a lot, and there are gurus that will say this is the one, and that guru will say this is the one, and there's some very famous gurus and acting teachers, and you should learn them all. You should study them all, but it's at the end you have to find your own way. But coming back to it, going to classes is good because it's like going to the gym in a way. So you can't just wake up and act. You need to be given a role. You need a group of people. It's like I said, the guitarist can wake up and play guitar. The singer can sing. The painter can paint. The writer can write. But acting is like, you can't just act in front of a mirror. Some people think that we do that, but you don't. That's just being silly, But and you can't act by yourself. So you have to go to class, more so than anything, to be with other actors and to do scenes and to do things with other people. That's what classes are good for. But in order to become better, like there's so many things that you could do that could improve it, your ability to do this thing. But you have to find your own way, because everybody has different problems and everybody has different blocks and different challenges to be able to express fully and to act as freely and as well as they can.
One of the questions I have for you now is, in your opinion, what is the most common misconceptions about acting? Like you mentioned, the funny one about you not rehearsing in front of a mirror.
In front of a mirror, yeah.
Is there any other?
Yeah, for sure. I would say one that I think I often hear is that actors sort of self-involved or narcissistic people and that like attention. You know, I think that's a perception of a lot of people because Hollywood is like the biggest representation of acting and cinema, right? Or it's the most famous representation of it. We think that the top echelon of Hollywood actors is a representative of the whole profession. And it really isn't, you know. Most actors aren't famous. Most actors aren't rich and famous. And actually, actors are like some of the best people that I've met. Really good people, kind people, empathetic people, interesting people, funny people that just love this thing and they're pursuing it. And so I would say that, of course, you find that in the industry. You find the divas, 100%. But for the most part, it's filled with really great people. Another one is I think that people also think that actors are a little bit crazy or kooky because of some behaviors or rituals or beliefs that actors engage in. And it's probably a little bit true. But that, if you understand why that happens, I think you have a different perspective on it and you get to appreciate a little bit more, because in our job, you expose yourself a lot, especially if you're doing it right. You know, you're revealing yourself, and it's like walking naked in the wind, you know, both physically, like literally sometimes, and metaphorically. But you're bearing all these different sides of yourself and you're exposing yourself, and it's on camera and it's forever until the next meteor hits and, you know, destroys all the databases. But it's there. It's going to be there forever. Good, bad, terrible, you know? So like, and then if you add fame on top of that, which some actors have, you're very exposed and you're very vulnerable. Yeah. So a lot of people create facades to protect themselves, and sometimes it comes off as arrogance, but really it's insecurity. And some people have, you know, rituals. The famous example is Tom Cruise in Scientology, right? And people think it's weird and it's strange and he's crazy. But if you understand that level of fame that Tom Cruise has, the kind of life that he lives, like whatever, if he's not hurting anyone, whatever belief system or rituals that help to keep him grounded or feel sane, ironically, I understand that. And that's something that I've grown to understand throughout my journey in this thing. So I would say those, there are probably others, you know, that lines are really difficult to learn. You just drill them and you learn them. But a lot of people ask me that. First of all, in film, you don't need to learn many lines because every day you have one scene, two scenes. In theater, you might, and it's impressive. Learning Hamlet is impressive to learn that whole part. But for the most part, it's like not something that actors lose sleep over. No.
The part where they would lose sleep is more on how to really look and be perceived as what we said before, like real, alive, rather than just like the details of how to get there.
Yeah, it's trying to do the part justice, but also be as relaxed and as free as possible. That's basically, when you're a professional actor, that's the challenge, you know. It's like, how do I come on Tuesday at 12 p.m. and deliver? That's what you lose sleep over, you know? You don't have multiple infinite possibilities to do it. And there's a pressure. There's a pressure to deliver in the moment. I would say that's something that, especially in highly demanding scenes, but always, you know, there's a camera pointing in your face, or you're on stage, you're always managing that anxiety, you know, and you want to perform to the best of your ability. And of course, ideally, you're not never thinking about the result. That's when you're free. When you don't think about the result, you don't think how you'll be perceived. But to get to that place, that's a whole world, you know, and you have to find how to navigate that for yourself, because everybody's different in that way.
And putting aside the fact that there is a whole crew around you, directly paying attention to every move.
Exactly, yeah.
That you're making.
It's a very uncomfortable environment.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Everybody tries to make it as comfortable as possible, but you know, there's 100 people doing 100 jobs.
Yeah.
And you're one of them.
Yeah, true.
The only difference is your job is going to be the one that's
visible.
And the one that you have to be relaxed and vulnerable and alive in. And,
yeah. I'm surprised about what you said about the fact that on a regular basis you don't have that many scenes, like one or two, and how like demanding do they get? You said that there's a very demanding scenes. What could you give examples of such scenes?
Yeah, I mean, in different ways. It can be emotionally demanding or physically demanding.
Yeah.
I mean, look, if you're a lead on a film, you're there every day and you're doing multiple scenes. You know, there's some parts that you're in every shot of the film almost, right? So that's extremely demanding because you're filming 5-6 days a week and you're filming 12, 14, 16 hours a day. Yeah. Of course, you're not acting. You're acting for maybe 10 minutes a day, like actual screen, like recording time. Maybe more. Depends. But my point is that it's compared to the 14 hours, it's a small part.
Yeah.
So that's a heavy load. But in terms of just specific scenes, it could be physically demanding because you could be running up a hill. You could be, I don't know. It could be a fight exactly, a fight choreography. It could be in water. It could be in cold weather, and you're supposed to be in summer. So each take you're in shirtless, and really it's 10 degrees outside and windy. That happens. Stuff like that. That's physically demanding. Then there's emotionally demanding, which means it could be scenes. You get a call and they tell you that your son has died, or your brother, or whatever it is. And you have to react to that over and over again. And if you're in a big group and they have to film others reacting to you, so you could be doing the death of your whoever, 12, 15, 20 times.
Yeah.
And then that can be draining.
And if on top of that you have to find in yourself the one bit that could relate and give life to this character, it gets even more heavy, no?
Yeah. You can't always go there. With something like that, you can't. There'll be a limit to how much you go, and you'll save that for the short for the close up on you.
Yeah. With the tear.
Yeah, because you can burn out.
Yeah.
But that's an example of something that can be emotionally demanding in a day or in a scene.
Okay.
Or you're fighting, it could be like you're fighting with your partner, and it's a dialogue back and forth, and it's
very intense.
Yeah. That's physically and emotionally demanding.
I watched the 2 seasons of the Bear, cooking series,
I haven't
TV
seen
show.
It, but I know it.
I cannot imagine. I mean, maybe it's totally different what they've done. Like not backstage, but when they were
Yeah.
shooting it. But the final result is so intense, and there's so many scenes where they shout at each other
In a kitchen, right?
in a
Yeah.
kitchen, and also the way it's filmed. So I guess it adds to the final result of feeling very intense, very it makes me it made me feel very anxious.
Yeah.
But perhaps sometimes even on the set you have to,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's chaotic.
yeah, it's chaotic
For sure. It's actually most sets are chaos. It's controlled chaos. It's unbelievable. If you get a set that works seamlessly, it's it's very
Miracle.
rare. Yeah, it's an exception, not the norm. Because it's just so many people and so many moving parts. And somehow miraculously movies get made. It's actually quite amazing.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's fighting between departments, and it's this, there's deadlines and schedules and budgets, and you have to create art in between that with all this chaos. So yeah, movie sets are intense, man. And if there's a lot of negativity and a lot of infighting, it could be really draining. Just that, not even the work, just the set, just the set.
Like your team doesn't get along, and you're like already taking a hit.
Yeah, or exactly. You can feel the bad vibes, and so it interferes with your work. So it's really important. The chaos is guaranteed almost always, but it could be chaos, positive chaos, where everyone's working together still. And likes each other in good spirit.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's negativity on top of chaos, it can get tough. Yeah, you don't want to come in the morning.
No. I guess that can also help with actors when they're on set and they're like, okay, that's going to be demanding, but at least I know that the job that is outside of the screen is maybe not equally as demanding, but also very demanding. Like the director,
for sure.
So you're like, okay, we're on this together. I'm not just the one, and not that I shouldn't be complaining, but these guys are also living through this problem or this highly demanding environment.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the director has to do much more work than the actor, because the director is there before, during, and after. Yeah, he or she is the captain of the whole thing and driving the whole thing. You, as an actor, you come in, you're responsible for your work. Yeah, that's it.
He's responsible to the producer.
He's responsible for everything. The sound people are responsible for sound, the camera for camera, the director has to control and orchestrate everything. Yeah. So there's a lot of tough jobs. The camera guys, the camera operators. Tough people, man. They have to carry cameras mount them, steady cams. Yeah. There are a lot of hard jobs on set.
Can imagine. And another point, like on the contrary, what is something that you know or that you think is true, but that most people do not know about acting?
I think we kind of touched on it before, but it's sort of the day-to-day, what the day-to-day is like, the invisible work, the unglamorous side of the whole thing. What do actors do, even my parents didn't understand for years what I was doing. It's like, well, what do you do? Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'm auditions and classes and this and that, and I'm, so I don't think many people know or understand what the day-to-day of an actor's life is like, and they're all different. But there, as I mentioned before, there are definitely things one can do that feeds you and that helps you develop the craft. I like to think of it as like mind, heart, body, and spirit. For me, dividing into 4 parts. So like I can train my mind, become more resilient, just general knowledge is good.
Because you can help with a specific role.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Or it can help you come up with things. But mental resilience mainly, psychological side of doing the job, dealing with your own bullshit, dealing with your own insecurities with block. Block is like the main thing. Like what's blocking? What's getting in the way of you being totally relaxed and free, and so your instrument can perform at its freest and its best. So that's the mental side of it. Surviving the practical um, things of being a professional actor, which is getting the nose, being without work for a long time. So that's all psychology. Then the heart, which is the emotional. You wanna be alive. You wanna feed things. You wanna feel things, man. You wanna experience things and feel things. Relationships, um, music, food, travel. It all feeds the emotionality of your life, and you want to be able to feel pain, feel anger, feel love, feel joy. So many people are anesthetized, and their ability to feel has got all this calcination around it. Their hearts are calcified because of society, because of life, because as you grow up, as you into the adult life, you become more and more numb sometimes, and it's just keeping that child alive, which I'd say, because keeping the child alive is important for artists in general, for actors especially, because well, not for artists in general, but for actors for sure, because you're playing at the end of the day, you're playing pretend, and you want to understand the spectrum of human emotion, and you want to be able to express it. So that would be the heart. Then the body, you want to be fit, you want to have plasticity and mobility and adaptability in your body. So you don't want to be super strong if you're not flexible, because that means you're just tense. You want your body to be able to respond,
to breathe in a way.
Yeah, to breathe, to respond, to be free, to understand your tensions, where you hold tension, to release that, because so much of emotions get blocked because of tension, physical contortions. So you want your body to be strong, agile, flexible. If you need to put on weight, if you need to lose weight, if you need to mold your body into a certain character, you have that ability. And then you have control over your body, because you're acting with all your being, I mean, in film, it's reduced to your face a lot more than it is in theater, for example. In theater, you're expressing with your whole body, and you want to have that freedom. You want to control, feel your limbs and feel your fingers, and let the emotion go through all of it. And you see the exciting actors in theater; they act from their toes to the head, and they're communicating with you always.
With movies, you add the frame layer, the selection layer.
Yeah, but in movies as well. Because you get bigger frames, and still you just translate all of that more through your eyes than your hands and arms, but as well, that's relevant for film as well. And then there's, for me, I think the spiritual side is important as well, because that's sort of like why you're doing it, the meaning of your life. Art is so spiritual in a way, because we don't know what it is. It's talking about the big questions in life. Great art does that, I think. It talks about the great, why are we here? What is love? Why do we die? Why do we live? War, injustice, freedom, all these big ideas, all these primordial things. And you can't avoid but getting into the spiritual with that. Also, art works in a way. Great art happens in such ways, and this is what I've grown to understand. It happens in such ways that it's unexplainable, and you get taken over by things. And you hear a lot of artists talk about that. Bob Dylan, for example, in an interview, he when he was older and they asked him about a song or his songwriting when he was younger, and he said, I don't know how I did it. He says, I don't know how I did it. And he gives, I think, It's All Right Ma, the song. And it's this poetry that he didn't almost understand at the time that he wrote it, but he said, something kind of comes through you if you have the antennae open and you're able to receive.
Yeah.
That's a big part of being an artist, I think. And that happens on stage when you're acting, because you can do all the preparation and everything. But if you're free enough and you're present enough, something can start coming through you without of your control, and you kind of live for those moments, And musicians would definitely tell you that. So what is that? Subconscious, God, spirit.
Yeah.
What is that? So it's important to have a relationship with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These 4 elements that you mentioned.
Yeah. I like to divide it into those 4 for me. Yeah. Which then makes up your whole instrument.
It connects to something I read recently about even as an individual and how to receive art. When, for example, you go to the museum, when you go to theater to watch a play, or even to the movies, you should be as open as possible, because if you come with a, let's say,
Preconceived idea.
not even a preconceived idea, but more like you're not fully opening yourself to whatever is going to be the art piece. It can be a painting, can be a movie, can be a music a song. But if you are open, that's when you can appreciate art, or at least the art piece in question, to the fullest. Because otherwise, if you expect something from art, most likely there's going to be a mismatch, because at least that's what the author of that book was saying, is art speaks one language, which is art, and it doesn't correlate to other languages, like let's say politics or like big meaning. No, when you go to watch an art piece or like admire it, it's how you feel, how you perceive it. Does it trigger something in your body? What are the emotions that are going through your body when you look at it? All these things. So I guess it's kind of in the extension of what you just said, from the artist all the way to whoever is gonna watch or admire the art piece.
Yeah, I think if the intention of the artist is pure and it's just to make the best thing that they can, or present their point of view with authenticity and truth, you will get something from that piece. Now, there could be other intentions mixed in, and I think that muddles it a bit and spoils it. Like you said, you mentioned politics. If you make art pieces with a political intention as the main thing, those pieces don't tend to speak to people, because it feels like it's didactic, and you're trying to
force feed
someone your political view. So yeah, for sure. Or commerce, if you're trying to sell, as well. And hey, there's a lot of art that is what it is, and it sells a lot. But selling isn't equivalent to
good art.
Yeah, it's not.
So yeah, for example, me, more and more when I go to the movies, I don't want to read about the synopsis. I'm just like, let's see. I have no clue what this movie is about. I just go because this person wanted to go. I've specifically asked them not to tell me what the movie is about, and let's see what happens.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's a good one, yeah, for sure.
So far, I'm like, cool. I felt that way. I like that moment. And I found that doing that way was more helpful for me to first have a more tangible opinion at the end. Like I could pinpoint what I liked, what I liked less, and also not expect too much, because if you read the synopsis, you have an idea of where it's going. And I want to be kind of surprised. Maybe there's a massive plot twist somewhere in the movie, and I'm totally caught by off guard, and therefore, okay, feeling surprise. So yeah,
For sure. I think we're so influenced by we're such social beings that we're so influenced by other people's opinions. So, and sometimes we don't actually know, like you said, yeah, if everyone told you their opinion about this film before you went, it's hard to go and experience it for yourself.
yeah,
And if you are able to do that, then yeah, like you said, you can pinpoint what exactly did you like, what you didn't like, what touched you, what's gonna stay with you, what's not. But if you go in with with a lot of having heard a lot of opinions of others, sometimes it will interfere with your experience of it.
I'd be curious to have your opinion, because it really connects to that question of whether or not someone should make a job out of their passion.
I think that if it's too much of a decision for you, it's probably not strong enough. It has to be sort of inevitable in a way. I feel it has to be something that you need to do, and if it isn't, maybe it's not supposed to be your job. At the same time, making a job out of your passion can sometimes soil it, and spoil it. There's definitely that side. So that's why it needs to be something that you absolutely have to do. Because once you start putting the pressures of making a living out of it and money, it can spoil the thing, the purity of it, right? And there's always these tensions in art or anything about the art and the commerce, the timelines, deadlines, budgets, all of that. That's a tension that's ever present in what we do. But sometimes just having something that you want to do for the love of it and no expectations is great. Like, I love hip hop music and writing lyrics and recording songs, and I have no pressure with that. And that's something that I can do for myself. I can wake up and start composing songs, writing, looking for beats, then recording it and having that. And I'm not looking to make money out of it. And that's nice to have that, It's sort of a very intimate, pure relationship with it. So there's that, But if you absolutely need to do it, then and you're willing to do the proper sacrifices, and you're in a position to be able to pursue it, then yeah, absolutely, you should go for it. But life's complicated. Life's complicated, and you will always have your basic needs at the top of your hierarchy of needs: shelter, food, And if you haven't got that secured, or at least to a degree which allows you to live your life without extreme stress and distress, you won't be able to pursue your passion if you're still trying to figure that out. I understand that a lot of people's life circumstances are really difficult, and they need to put that in order first in order to think about anything else. And that doesn't involve pursuing your passion. Also, luck can have a big impact on whether you're able to do it or not. For example, if your passion is being a tennis player and you rip your ACL at 16 or 18, chances are it's going to be difficult to live off tennis. You know, you could recover, but what if you're injury prone? It happens a lot to athletes, right? So many great, talented people who love football, tennis, basketball, whatever it may be, but their body's just not made for it. They break. With acting, it can kind of happen as well. There are a lot of great actors who never get their opportunity, you know, and they may be happily working in theater and having a good life, and some not, you know, because it's like 2% of actors that make a living off acting, something like that.
2%.
2%
Wow.
of who full-time live off acting, paying their rent, their family, whatever, you know,
Yeah.
something like that.
That's ridiculously low.
Yeah, it's ridiculously
Wow.
low. So, you know, there's that. You know, a lot of great actors don't get the opportunity to be able to enter that 2%. And within that 2%, the amount of people that you see on screen or in cinema is even way lower, because there's a lot of that 2 or 3, whatever, 4%, say, even if it's 5%, it's still low. Yeah, that live a great, humble life, and they live off acting, and they could be either working a lot but not in the lead parts, or they could be working in theater and, you know, they're known in the community, or they're known in the town, or known in the city, and they make a living off it, and they live that kind of art life, right? But yeah, if you absolutely need to do it, then you have, and you're willing to make the right sacrifices, you should go for it.
Do you remember a time where, or when, more like, your love for acting felt too overwhelming?
Yeah, overwhelming and painful. Yeah, for sure. There have been times where you're getting, many times actually. Yeah. Either you're on your 20th rejection, no, and maybe you were fine for the first 10, 15, and then it always comes a point where it becomes a little bit overwhelming, or you're a bit dejected and crestfallen, you know, and you need to pick yourself back up. That happens multiple times.
Yeah.
For
Therefore,
sure.
the resilience that you talked
Yeah,
about.
yeah. But even, you know, you become better at it for sure, but it's still painful.
Yeah.
It's even more painful when you're in, like, you get, one thing is you tape on an audition, and you send it off, and you never receive a reply or no feedback. That's happens all the time, you know, to everyone. That's especially if it's something that you feel like, I'm really right for this, and I should be a contender for this, and you don't. That's painful. But then when you get close, say you do a second audition or third audition, and then they're like, oh yeah, we're deciding between 2, 3 other actors or whatever. You really see the finish line. Yeah. And then it's a no. That's even more painful. Yeah. Because it shouldn't be, because you got far in the process. It means you're doing something right. They like you. You gain visibility with producers, casting directors, because they're seeing those tapes, you know. So it's a good thing, but the no hurts. So, and then being without a job for a long time, you know, I had a moment where it was nearly 2 years.
Wow.
Because it's probably during the COVID time.
Yeah. Which exceptional times.
Exceptional, but also just can happen as well. I know a lot of actors.
Okay.
You meet a lot of actors. A year, 2 years,
For you, it was
3
COVID,
years.
but some people.
No, I mean, for me, it was COVID and not COVID. It was both.
I'm curious. What does it look like, the rejection feedback from a?
There's no reply.
No. I mean, like, for example, you've been selected and you've gone to, let's say, stage 3 or 4, or however long is how long the process can be. what do they tell you? They say we didn't like that part.
No, they typically they never give you any detail about your performances or anything. It'd just be like, unfortunately, they
We
decided
move
to go
forward
with someone else. Yeah, and that would be like a formal kind of thing. Sometimes they put a nice note in for you and say, we want to thank Anton for his time, and think they maybe commend you on your work and your time, and then they just say, yeah, unfortunately it didn't go his way, and something very formal.
And do you know ahead of time, like prior to the let's say interview, what you are gonna be rated on, or is just an overall performance?
No, you're given a breakdown and the scenes, and it's your interpretation of it. Sometimes they'll give you specific notes. If it's a director might ask for the casting director to include specific notes. We're going for a very naturalistic performance. Make sure that the actors keep it down, sort of understated, or some guidelines, some basic guidelines, yeah. Or about the character specifically, something like that, yeah. But generally, it's just the character description, which is like short few sentences about the character, about the story, and then the scenes. Yeah. And that's what you have to go off.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I mean, that tends to happen in other areas, not necessarily acting. Like, I've been in interview processes where they just say, I made it to almost the final stage, and like where there's usually two candidates, and they just say, we move forward with these two people.
Yeah.
Well, two people, and you're not part of them, so thank you, but goodbye.
Exactly.
Makes sense. Now I would like to move to a part that is more geared towards your perspectives on acting, and specifically on one topic, which is fame. Because the main idea, I think, when people think of acting, and as you mentioned at the beginning, is famous actors. But you proved during this conversation that it's far from the case. Like, within the 5%, let's say, portion of actors making a living out of acting, there is a very, very tiny portion of insanely famous Brad Pitt, Leonardo DiCaprio, and this lot. What is your perspective on fame today?
Yeah, so most actors aren't famous, for sure. Maybe 0.1%, but fame, if you get well known for your work because you did a great job, or the project is well received, that's a good thing. It's a good thing for us because it opens us more doors. You get to work with great people. You get to have more work. And often the price you pay for that is fame. Yeah. So it's fantastic because you get access to a lot more people, and the phone keeps ringing. Great. But you lose anonymity, you lose privacy. That's the price you pay as actors sometimes for doing good work. Now, I think there's also a difference between fame and celebrity. Yeah. Because if you then lean into your fame, or you become a celebrity, or you can become a celebrity, right? Yeah. And that's almost like a whole other job. Yeah. Right? It's got nothing to do. There are a lot of actors who are famous, but they're not celebrities. Yeah. I mean, I'm not famous, so yet. But you see that, right? And you mean, yeah. So yeah, what we see in Hollywood, these are like the mega famous. There's also different levels of fame, right? You can be famous in your town, you could be famous in your city, you could be famous in your country, and then you could be famous in the Western world, and then you could be famous worldwide, right? So many different levels of fame. But yeah, if it's for doing great work, it feels. I'm assuming it's good. You know, definitely know it's good because you get more work and whatnot. Also now fame is kind of changed in a way with social media, right? So there's so many people who are famous for anything and everything other than their work. Right? And also can get their 5 seconds of fame. So fame's kind of changed. You don't have the Brad Pitts, Tom Cruises anymore. It's as much. It's different now, I feel. I mean, you do have some mega superstar actors who kind of have that classic Hollywood star or treatment. But it's not as much anymore, right?
I guess now you also have a new category of not necessarily actors, but
Influences.
people famous for being famous. You know, like you don't know why they're famous, but they're famous. So you're like, okay, but what is your talent? Where does this stem from?
Influences,
Yeah. Influencers can be something.
Yeah, because social media has introduced this new element. The internet has introduced this new element of like the algorithm. So that we're seeing all sorts of things with that, which is strange.
Yeah, no, for sure. For me, one actor that really embodies what you described before for being famous for being a great actor is Daniel Day-Lewis, who's very, I think, at least that's not someone that you hear about on either social media or you don't necessarily know about his private life, which I think is a great thing for him, at least if that's what he wants. But then you watch his movies, or you've definitely seen some of them, like The Last of the Mohicans. There's the one There Will Be Blood, which is my favorite.
It's one of my favorite films as well, and performances.
It's insane.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's insane. And you're like, wow, this guy. And then you have, like, for example, the Ransom of Glory of the Brad Pitts and the likes, where even Leonardo DiCaprio that we talked about now is relationship life is dissected on a regular basis. There is jokes about him on the internet for like being with very young girls or very way younger than him. Brad Pitt is dealing with a pretty ugly divorce with his kids and whatnot. So it's almost paradoxical because as an actor, I feel like what I understand is you want to get to that bit where your fame gets you an insane amount of opportunities, or at least you have the choice in deciding what you want instead of what you went through before, which is to knock on several doors and getting a lot of rejections. But at the same time, you should be very well aware that that comes with a very tricky danger or slippery slope of watch out because there's the celebrity part, which is a new job, and that's going to expose you whether you want it or not.
Yeah, and it's gonna use you. Then you become a slave of it. You know, you can become a slave of anything, but you can become a slave of your own fame or of your own celebrity for sure. And you see that happen all the time, where people turn into their like gimmicks of themselves, you know, or as slaves to the celebrity, and it's sad to see. Daniel Day-Lewis is a great example of that.
A lot of others.
There's a lot of others who stay out of Hollywood, right? And they minimize their exposure. And there's also a good reason for that, not only to protect their personal life, but also protect their work. Because the more you expose yourself and who you are, and the more people see your face on TV, on the phones, on commercials, whatever, talk shows, the more that people start getting a sense of who you are and then it's harder for you to convince them that you're somebody else, and they sort of see you, you know, they see Will Smith now for Will Smith, you know, or there are other examples of that, right? Whereas nobody knows Daniel Day-Lewis. Nobody knows what he's doing. There's myths about him. Oh, he was a cobbler and he did in Italy, and then he quit acting and he did this and did that. And we don't know if it's true or not, but he's a rare example because he's so good, and he solidified himself as such an elite actor. And I don't know if it was designed to do that, you know, if he did it, probably not. Probably because he wants to just live that kind of life. But he got that, he was lucky in the way that he got these great opportunities, and he obviously smashed them and did unbelievable work, and then was able to live life like that. See, it's hard if it's every actor's dream to get into that position in a way, right? Yeah, you want to, of course. Of course I want to live like Daniel Day-Lewis and do one film, or do film with whoever I want and the role that I want, and do one film a year, or him even like one film every 3 or 4 years or whatever. Smash it, get an Oscar, and and then retreat back to Ireland and live the farm life, you know? Like, that's amazing. I would love that. But, you know, not everybody's able to do that. Not everybody's able to do that, but that is the dream. But I think it's important it was much more important back in the day, and I think a lot of actors, old school actors, understood that more, that, you know, now the desire to be seen and to be liked and to be popular and to have millions of followers, that is infected a lot of artists for sure. So they feel like they need to go on the talk shows, they need to post on social media. And I see that with a lot of young actors or artists in general. They feel like they won't be relevant if they're not in everyone's face all the time. But you pay a price for that. You pay a price for that because you have no mystery about you, and you overexpose yourself. And
now it's so it's so funny you mentioned that, because I watched the movie Anora on it was Sunday evening, and again someone told me, watch this movie, like, no more details. I watched it, loved it. For some reason, I got touched right in the heart by the girl.
Yeah, she was great, man.
Insane.
So
and
good.
Then I had the reflex of looking, okay, who is she? Like, it's the first time I see this actress. I was kind of blown away by the performance, and she's not on social media. And I see a few of these actors. I think another one is can't remember his name, but he plays in I mean, this is not a show that I would recommend, at least I didn't like it, but the Jackal.
Eddie Redmayne.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's not on social media either. But good thing he was in this show, because I think he saves it, in my opinion.
Yeah, me too.
Because let's not go into this topic, but I like the actor because
He's great, man.
And I think that some of these young actors are now starting to realize that, okay, maybe the social media thing, like, let's put it aside, and
maybe I can achieve my goals without it, and it's possible. It might take you longer, but look, it depends what kind of artist you want to be, man. It depends what you want. If you want to be popular, famous, and commercial, well, it will help you. And if you want to make more money,
there's a path.
You get millions of followers, and then you become an advertising panel. You know, you become an advertising shield, and that's what a lot of artists become. They become walking advertising shields. Okay, they make a lot of money for sure, but then you look on their social media and it's just like, it's makeup, it's perfumes, it's cars, it's okay, they get a lot of stuff for free. I know how it works, I've seen it, you know. But I don't blame people for sometimes, you know, you make a lot of money that way, and then maybe you can choose acting roles that pay less and do indie films, and there's no right and wrong, but that is something to consider for sure. And I think it's a little bit sad as well, But, you know, each to each their own, and there is no right and wrong at the end of the day.
Just some facts about
But yeah.
like what it entails, like this.
Yeah, but it's good.
celebrity
Like
part.
the actress Mikey Madison.
Mikey Madison.
Yeah, she's like 25. She's great. She's a smashing job. And I like that. I like when we have this desire to find out who they are. Who is this person who did, who inspired me? And then you don't, but it's better, I think, right?
Actually, yeah, I was like, I was that was a good surprise. I was like, okay, I'm not gonna see anything of that girl on Instagram, for example. And I'm like, that's a smart move. I actually like it. So yeah. And I guess that takes us to my final question about fame, and specifically, you explain how yes, there is this slippery slope of fame turning into celebrity, turning into you becoming a advertising panel, turning into social media, not issues, but like what comes with social media. Has this perspective changed over the years?
Yeah. I mean, when you're in drama school and you're dreaming of becoming an actor and you're working, you're just thinking about the art, the craft. You're just fully engaged with that, and you're working on great material, right? So you're working on the great playwrights, great American playwrights, European playwrights, whatever. You're working on this
Like the
rich,
classics.
you're working on this rich material, and you're thinking about the craft, and it's amazing. Thinking about that you have to audition, that you work, and so my perspective hasn't changed on the actual craft. It's just gotten deeper. The understanding has got deeper, and the understanding of myself has got deeper. But yeah, what has changed is sort of seeing how it works, and I think how it works has changed as well. Before the industry was different in a way. It's changed now with the streaming, which has been sort of the biggest change. On the one hand, it's great, but like everything, it's a double-edged sword. But one thing that is done is it's introduced a lot more. I think that the corporate side and the commerce side has gotten in deeper a little bit, more deeper with the art. So now it's so normal now to see brands in movies and TV shows, and also the decision makers now, they look at stats a lot more often, man.
Yeah.
So because they're tech companies, Netflix, Amazon,
Prime,
Apple,
Prime Video, it is?
Prime Video, yeah.
Prime Video.
Apple, whatever, they're all, and even the classic ones, HBO and Disney, they're looking at algorithms, they're looking at numbers, they're looking at statistics much more than before. And before, box office, now there's so many data points that you can analyze, and it's becoming so technical.
Yeah. It's industrial.
Yeah, in a way. And that's what you see. You see these Netflix shows, and they're all formulaic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're looking on X or Instagram, and they're seeing what are the talking points. What are the hot subjects? Okay, let's put in a bit of that, bit of this, bit of that, bit of this, And it's engineering. It becomes engineering. They're kind of engineering the shows in a way to be representative, to be politically correct, to not upset anyone, and that's sort of I've been seeing that develop over the years as a consumer, but also as someone who's inside, on the inside, and
that commodified.
Yeah, it's becoming a lot more commodified in a way, and the decision makers are not people who have a passion for it, which is like even before the old Hollywood studios, the producers, they're film buffs. So they were putting money in, they were collecting money, knew that it might fail, might flop, they might not get their investment back. Now it's analysts, tech guys in finance, and they all want to recoup the numbers. So, and this has been my sense, but also I've spoken to people. I speak to people in the industry, people who make film, and I ask them this question all the time: do you feel like it's become that? And they say, yeah, because you look at statistics, even the way they cast people now. So they look at your stats, your online. So they will, yeah, yeah. And I've been told this directly. They once you get into the final rounds, and say like I have zero internet footprint, not zero or like whatever, my Instagram followers and blah blah blah. Even if the director or someone likes this actor better for the part, the decision making has to go through all of the departments now. So then the marketing department punches your name into a program, and they see your repercussion online, and they see your stats, how marketability, yeah, and they see that, and then they make a decision. That's an important factor in the decision making today. So you all, which never used. I mean, always star power was important, but now it's okay. Not only the star, but everybody around. Now we have to see as well. Like, of course, always star power help finance movies. Brad Pitt, whatever, always help finance. But they didn't have this tech side to it before, this algorithm side to it before. That gets, I think, gets in the way of art, and sometimes, the artistic process. Yeah. So that's the change that's happening and been happening for the last 10 years or more.
That's crazy. Yeah, for sure. I mean,
It's frustrating in a way, yeah, to learn that, because it's like, but you just, that's why a lot of actors feel the need to participate in it, participate in the algorithm,
yeah.
because they feel like it improves their chances of getting work, and it might. But
I mean, if it's a criterion for the casting process, you gotta be realistic. If you're gonna, it can be a deal breaker if you have no.
I know it's been a deal breaker for me for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of your following on Instagram.
Yeah, I don't have definitive evidence, but you can see a pattern. Yeah. And I've talked to people who have been on the other end of the decision making process to see what it's like today, and they confirmed to me that that's how it happens. So then it's logical to conclude that it's happened to me, or it happens all the time. Yeah.
I mean, but makes sense. I'm not. I would, totally expect that. But I think, I think I'm going to conclude and wrap this up by saying that it's also frustrating from non-actors as well, because, like, I've come to the point where most of the content that is on Netflix, if I go on Netflix, I'm going to watch old movies from the 90s, American movies especially, because that's mostly American catalog that I have access to. But the most recent content is not, like, I don't like it. I've watched a few, Baby Reindeer being the last big hit that I watched entirely. But my point is that when I want to watch old movies, I'm going to give you a very concrete example. This Chinese movie called A Brighter Summer Day. It's like very old, from the 70s or something. It's 3 hours long. And because I've been used to watching content that has been definitely engineered to modern tastes, where there's a lot of action, where there's very little space for progression, time, slow, logical construction of the story. Well, it's very hard for me to focus on such movie, because you're used to something totally different, and that's frustrating, because I know that there is something there that's been acclaimed, or that is if you look at the rankings of all the classics from different countries, on top of that, a Chinese movie, you know, like
There is something there that's of high artistic merit that you want to receive, or yeah.
But because again, like you've been taught to enjoy a movie that is that is super formatted, in the sense that it's an hour and a half long. There's a lot of actions, jumps from a scene to the other. Basically, they've engineered this movie or this Netflix show to not feel boring, or to not leave any space for pauses, which then makes all movies that focus on pauses harder to watch.
Yeah, if quantity is the goal, then it's hard to produce things like
Quality stuff.
Yeah, it's hard because it takes time, man. It takes time and inspiration. You can't force it. So if you're always trying to give that, what's the Netflix thing that it just instantly goes into the next thing, and it instantly goes into the next thing. Yeah, like the automatic play, the autoplay or whatever. I mean, that's just, it's like McDonald's. You know, it's not. Yeah. Hopefully the cinemas stay alive. I still think I still believe that. You see, people think that our attention spans have shortened, but it's not because there's an evolution that's happened to us. It's just what we get.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right? And then we see films come out. There was a year when it was the Tarantino's film Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Joker, I think.
Yeah.
I believe they were, maybe I'm mistaken, but there was a time when when these films came out, long films, The Irishman, I think, and people went to the cinema to see them.
Yeah.
People were yearning for something deeper, I think.
Yeah.
They want it. We want it. I, as a consumer, can say that. So it's just what you give. That's what you're producing. So I hope that the cinemas stay alive. I think they will. It's never going to be replaced, because there's something deep in our nature that sits in a dark room and watches a story. Theater, because it's like theater. Theater's been around thousands of years, and cinema is like theater but on the screen.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Storytelling.
That's also why I love to go to the cinema, because as opposed to just opening your laptop and watching Netflix, because the intention is not the same. First of all,
concentration is not the same.
You're moving somewhere that's not your home or your living room. You cannot just leave mid movie in the cinema. That's weird, unless you really don't like the movie, but that's another topic. But there is like a commitment, physical commitment to the thing, where you don't have with just opening your laptop, because it's so easy,
and with other people
that
influences it. You're communal. It's a communal experience. We, as human beings, you will never be able to replace that, because it's in our DNA. That's why we go to watch sports together. We go to church together. We go to theaters, cinemas. We go to yoga retreats, whatever whatever it is. Even as no matter how modern you get, there is something in that we need. And if it's to watch art and a conversation about basically what all art is, a conversation about ourselves and what we're doing here, and being conscious, and all the big questions that we mentioned before, that's what we don't know the answers to that. And we're grappling and wrestling with that all the time.
Totally agree. I think that was the wrap up to the conversation. Anton, thank you so much for joining me and sharing your perspective on acting.
Thank you, man. It was very enjoyable.
Fervent Radio dives into the journeys of individuals fueled by their passions. Join us as we explore a world of fervent stories.